right, now Kuzma and Posner jump into an area where they talk about tools, their toolbox, if you would, that they give us for developing characters. And they talk about our top 10 areas of character development. And then the first one is that level of self-awareness. And I think this is such an area, emotional intelligence, which we're going to do an assessment on later on in our course. But the self-awareness, understanding yourself, developing and managing your emotions, it is such an important role as far as becoming a great leader, developing your professionalism, modeling the way for people to be able to see how do you manage emotions in times of conflict, in times of stress, in times of uncertainty. We look to our leaders as those guides, and the leaders are the ones that they are the ones that are going to need to be modeling that level of emotional maturity, if you would. I think this is an area we're always growing and developing. We want to understand, and manage our emotions. I know sometimes we think we do a great job, but sometimes we kind of get just going and not realizing and reflecting. And so I do like for us to make sure we look back on situations that are good, we look back on situations that are bad, and or just reflect for the day to understand what impact you may have had. Think about it this way. Let's say you begin to hear an odd sound every time you start your car, and you ignore it. And pretty soon you don't even notice it anymore because it's just there. You just keep on driving. Then one day your car won't start at all. And the mechanic tells you that it would have been simple and inexpensive problem to fix if you had paid attention to it in the beginning. But because you ignored it for so long, it's going to cost a bundle. And the same holds true in leading. Self-awareness helps you receive clues about what's going on inside you and in your environment. And I do this a lot by reflecting and interpersonal conversations and looking at, walking away from a conversation like I asked you guys to do, and asking myself, how did I handle that? How did I come across? Did I get upset when somebody came in at me at the wrong direction, or I was criticized for something? Where is it I might have done a better job, or where is it I could have done a better job? A lot of that emotional conversations I need to have in order to continue to grow and develop myself. And so I ask myself questions sometimes, what qualities in other people irritate me? Although that sounds to me, it could be a little childish, but at the same time, we need to know the people out there that kind of rub us the wrong way, because we are humans first. And so we do need to be aware of people, even with certain types of strengths, I'm sorry to say, may rub people the wrong way or rub people differently. If you've got a big influencer in the room and you're a big thinker, that influencer might really aggravate you. The woo person, or someone with a lot of self-assurance and competition, for a strategic person, those characteristics, too much of it at one time, might be flooding the emotional gates of a strategic person. So, what type of qualities, or maybe even being aware of what strengths that you are not so educated on that you feel might rub you the wrong way. And Carl Jung, a psychologist, once said, what aggravates us the most in others is probably a weakness in ourselves. I always come back to that, because when I do start to get frustrated in situations, I look at, okay, why am I getting frustrated? What's going on? What is this person doing? What am I doing? Why are my emotions kind of getting all bothered? What qualities in other people do you envy and that do you want to be most like? And I ask you this only because where do we come from with positive psychology is we come from an area of strengths. But what are we taught growing up is an area of overcoming your weaknesses. So we oftentimes envy those things we don't have. In the same perspective, we're trying to make sure we envy what we do have. What emotions do you least want to feel and why? What do you most want people to think about you? So these are just a few little thinking questions to develop that self-awareness. Knowing others is intelligence. Knowing yourself is true wisdom. Mastering others is strength. But mastering yourself is truly the power behind great leadership. And that's really, we want you to become comfortable. We want you to love yourself. We want you to become embracing all of those strengths as a great leader. And I have learned in my journey of working with individuals that oftentimes we don't hold that mastery over ourselves. Oftentimes we hold ourselves in, we judge ourselves based off of how other people see us or how we think other people judge us, when really what we want to be able to own is the knowledge of our talents and our strengths and how we can bring our best self to each and every situation and master that. That's where a lot of our power is going to come from. Okay, tip 2. Moving into the second area is managing your emotions. Understanding them and being aware of them is your first step. What do you do with that information? Where do you go with it? You know, a lot of us like to say, I think that other person should manage their emotions better. They're not very rational, right? So self-control is very important. Obviously, we want to have that. We expect it of others in professional settings, as do we expect it within ourselves. You know, so how do you manage your emotions? What are your your ways in which you get back to a sense of control or awareness of, okay, what I'm doing right now is actually probably damaging the process or damaging the relationship. So how do you manage your emotions? Once again, we have to constantly look at that. That self-control is so important. Let's say you become aware that you get angry when people are unprepared for a meeting. Anybody out there? I'm sure a few. One way to respond would be to yell at them and put them down in front of the group. We have probably had some experiences with that. But would that be the best way to handle that situation for the sake of your credibility and your relationships with that person? So, you know, obviously it wouldn't. We do need to develop some self-control. The same is true with learning. There will be times, you know, when you become more frustrated, when you become upset at the feedback that you receive, and you can go out and, you know, feel like you're just going to break down. And I guess the connecting point is it successful? Is what you're doing now in managing your emotions, one, growing your self-awareness, and two, is what you're doing managing your stress and managing your emotions, is it successful for your life? Would you like to do it better? Would you like to do it differently? You know, personally, I always think we have our good days, we have our bad days. I believe that we can always grow in our understanding about how we may have mismanaged our emotions, how we may have misunderstood a communication, how we may have misguided somebody based off of our nonverbals or based off of our verbals. Your emotions are great messages. They're trying to teach you something, so try not to be afraid of them or to ignore them, or consider it a weakness that you have to fix. We do want to be aware of it. We do want to know where it fits in and how to grow it, but I also don't want you to perceive your emotions as weaknesses. They are for you to grow from. So how well do you manage your emotions? Maybe it's not every interaction, but maybe walking away from an interaction that was positive and say, you know, I really think I did a good job managing my emotions in this area, but maybe in this other area I probably could have done a little bit of better job, and I'm going to try that next time. I want you guys to think about a negative experience and how it impacted you, and what we also want to understand is the word impact versus intent. Have you ever had somebody come back to you and say, you know, I really can't believe you said that, that was so hurtful or very harmful, or it really made me upset, when the intent of your message was not that at all, but that was your impact. The third tip is seeking that feedback, even though sometimes the feedback we get we don't want to hear. You don't have to take everything and feel as if you have to mold that information into becoming you. Some information you get back when you have feedback is information you understand it, but maybe it's not something at this time you're going to make changes with. What's in your control is something that we want to look at for feedback. You know, don't be afraid of it. Recognize it all has its place. Who is it coming from is another great question to ask yourself. And do you value that person's judgment, opinion? You know, and the head versus the heart there on the bottom line, that's speaking to the fact that, you know, are you taking the feedback and operating from your heart, because then you're emotionally driven and you're not being as objective as recognizing it with your head. And feedback is just that. It is information about an event that somebody is giving back to you about from their opinion, and feedback holds a negative connotation based off of our culture and how we've assigned that negativity to it. We don't have to have that associated with negativity. I want you to actively seek feedback. You know, I want you to be asking people, how am I doing? Do you need something from me that I'm not giving you? How is it I can be better in what I'm doing? You know, that's information to help you grow, and that is what will make you stronger. I don't want you to be fearful of it. You know, information is just information. You guys, it is information coming into us, and whether or not we put a positive or negative slant on it, that's the way in which we are interpreting it. I can remember in my experience in a couple of agencies in California, I had some great, amazing mentors that really helped me to grow professionally. And in the beginning, I felt a little like I was being judged, a little like I was being criticized, but then I began to realize that, you know what, these people had my best interest at heart. They were telling me it for a reason, and they were great at what they did, and I admired them. So I did take the information. I think I've grown as a result of it, and I reflect on it too. Some of the things that they have told me has really helped to change who I am professionally. Some of us that have possibly empathy, positivity, harmony, those types of talent themes individualization, may have a harder time hearing the feedback and see it as hurtful, but we know that about that strength, and so with that, I have individualization. So when I'm given feedback and I feel like it's my heart taken over, I have to recognize that as my individualization has been compromised. This person no longer, I'm being judged or whatever that looks like. If I put it in the theme of my maximizer, I then put it in a different channel for me and within my talents to do something with it. But if I solely hold it in my individualization, I won't grow as much as a result of it. Until I figure out that, one, don't take it emotionally, two, operate within your head, and three, you know, what I'm going to do with it. So I do jump into a maximizer mode when people do give me feedback. I've learned to do that in order to be constructive in growing that information. But our biggest task is going to be, hey, what are we learning from this, and how can we move it forward to make something positive come as a result of it? And again, feedback is just feedback. It's our decision of how we're going to view it, and what we're going to do with it is what is in our control, and that's what I challenge you with. The fourth tip is that to take initiative, and I know a lot of you, you're in this project, so you know what, you're already taking initiative and growing your character as leaders, being proactive as that leader. Take charge of where you are and where you want to go, and carve out your destiny. And again, what we know about our destiny and great plans is it also takes a lot of great revisions along your journey to get there. So being proactive is to to grow a journey and your mission within your mission, obviously. Take the initiative to seek out the feedback. How proactive are you in taking initiative in regards to meeting your goals and in regards to stepping out of your comfort zone and those things? So we do want to see that, success comes from those individuals that are always willing to step out, to be in front of, to say, hey, let's do this. So I always ask myself at the end of the day, but then also in the beginning of the day, what action can I take today that produces new momentum towards success in my life, personally and or professionally? I'm constantly mindful of asking myself maybe about 3 things that I could do today which would produce new momentum. So, in my personal journey, as far as my wellness goes, my momentum each day is what could I do differently during my workout? What could I provide food-wise that are the healthy choices that I'm going to have at the family dinner? And then also personal might be something, am I going to, or how am I going to spend time with one of my kids, or am I going to have a 20-minute glass of wine for a conversation with my husband? That's the initiative, because I want to stay on top of my wellness, that I challenge myself to do each and every day. And then I have those professional initiatives as well. And so with this question, and I think what happens, ladies and gentlemen, and please tell me how you feel, is I think we get into day-to-day, humdrum, making it through, kind of a rat race, more of a reactive day versus a proactive day. At the end of the day, we're exhausted and drained rather than rejuvenated and feeling good about it. So we don't always think about each and every day the opportunities to take initiatives, even though these initiatives could be very small. Also look at engaging that coach or that mentor is going to help you too. Developing that relationship for professional growth is going to help you to take the initiative in figuring out what do you want your path to look like. Mentors are amazing. I do challenge you to make sure you continue either mentoring each other and or joining professional organizations, anything like that, that you could grow in your professional partnership with others, especially with people that you admire. I think we're more inspired that way to listen to what they have to say, to learn how did they get where they're at, how is it you want to get similar but not the same place. So looking at beyond this project and continue on in your professional leadership role and your charactership is to continue to mentor, find a mentor, to find a coach, whatever that looks like. I hope that this is an area you have found to be helpful and that you will continue this, and maybe you will step into that coaching role or mentor role on your campus. Maybe it will be that you will be that strengths coach, that advisor that is going to guide your team or guide coworkers or students.